As a basically conservative person, I feel betrayed, angry, disillusioned that politicians don't look beyond the end of their nose and think about the future of this country, a country that only has one safe supply of underground water.
We do feel betrayed. The National Party, we couldn't have a more ineffective party to represent the interests of farmers. We've only got to see Barnaby Joyce's comments in terms of coal seam gas. He said that, farmers could stand to make hundreds of thousands of dollars out of this. For a start, that is nothing more than a lie. And to farmers, what is ultimately more important is clean air, clean water and land to grow clean, healthy food.
I wouldn't want a CSG well 5 metres from my property. It's going to affect my property value. There's always the potential for something to go wrong. So I understand why people are concerned.
We feel unbelievably neglected and betrayed by our government. I don't know who to even air our concerns with for them to be heard properly. It's so concerning when I look at the people who are going to be making these decisions that will affect the rest of our lives. What's in it for them? Like, what does it matter to them if our underground water is contaminated? It doesn't change their lives, but for us, it's everything.
They will never have a coal seam gas well drilled in their backyard. So I'd say to the politicians, why is my children's health not as important as your children's health?
What is actually happening in this country is that we're being raped of our rich resources and we're not nationalising any of it.
The agricultural industry that we have is there to produce food for mankind. It's not there to be destroyed or interfered with or ruined with the contaminated water.
If CSG comes to this area, it will affect everything from pipeline infrastructure, which is completely incompatible with our soil, and the use of the land when we're trying to grow our crops and provide for our animals. Just not big enough for the both of us.
If we can stop this gas pipeline, basically it's going to stop the gas project from going forward. So anything to stop coal seam, gas mining is a benefit.
APA have come out and they've told the councils and they've told the people in their presentations there's nothing you can do about it. This gas line is going to come through, this pipeline is going to be given state significance, and it's coming through whether you like it or not. Read the National Pipeline Act, it's coming through. But it's not coming through because without social licence to lay their pipeline and without social licence to start their gas project, it cannot go ahead. It's as simple as that.
We live in a place in Australia that countries around the world would give anything for this food producing ability. And simply put, once it's gone, it's gone. There's no getting it back. We felt the risks are too great. So we've dedicated a great amount of our lives and time from our business to stopping this.
What governments are failing to consider is the cost implications. They're looking at the benefits, or the so-called benefits of this industry, but they're failing to take account of the large-scale costs and risks. And it's quite infuriating, to be quite honest.
For me, the political solutions are fairly obvious. It's about courage and it's about politicians actually looking to the future rather than party political alignments or actually being too scared to step out of their comfort zone.
One of the things that is a factor, I believe, in government's preparedness to accept these companies and let them come in and wreak their havoc is the revolving door. A lot of not just ministers, but top bureaucrats will go into these companies after their period in politics or after they've seen the passage through the approvals process of the project. This is just not right.
This rush to royalties, rush to sell off our country, rush to get the gas out of the ground is so dangerous. It's so dangerous for the long term.
Is an economic return more important than someone's health or a community's health or a river or a forest?
I have no faith in my politicians about coal seam gas.
Every level of the government has let us down, every turn.
Why would they let a couple of noisy farmers get in the way of what they're doing? And they'll talk over us. And this is where we have representatives of regional Australia stepping forward before the EIS had even been submitted correctly to say, I'm supporting this, I'm behind this, Narrabri, I must go ahead.
It just outlines the complicity this government has with this dirty, toxic industry. They've ticked the boxes in lots of places that we will never know. They've had discussions, they've lobbied. It's a greater force than we possibly can imagine at that level, but they're missing one key element, the people, and the people will respond.
One of the things we can't do is just say, oh, regulation will take care of it. If we don't know what the potential health harms are, how do we know that regulation will take care of it? And so it's very easy to say, and from an engineer's point of view, they might be thinking it's safe, but in fact, from a community point of view, it's not.
This is an industry you cannot regulate into safety.
Governments do not have the resources to actually know what's going on. They don't have the resources for the regulators to be able to go out there onto a site and say, hey, you're not doing this or you're not doing that. They don't know. They depend entirely on the companies to give them the information to know whether they're in breach of their conditions or not.
They seem to be able to breach things and then the government comes in and shifts the legislation behind them. They are showing their willful ignorance when they do not take into account within their approvals processes the science. When people say, I was just doing my job, well, I say, sorry, that's not good enough anymore. If just doing your job is going to cause a known harm, you're not just doing your job, you're culpable.
It's very important to me to be able to represent our community, and our community doesn't like CSG, and they've said so loud and clear, absolutely loud and clear, and they're immensely proud of the fact that we've stood up to the big boys and said, we don't want you here.
I feel that New South Wales needs to take a leaf out of Victoria's book in banning this toxic industry, and Daniel Andrews needs to be commended because he's recognised the fact that this industry directly threatens the clean and green reputation of agriculture.
3.2 million hectares of people have responded at an average of 96% saying they don't want this. I mean, what are the government not understanding about a democratic process? Why are they refusing to acknowledge it?
I don't understand why the National Party is selling out the farmers. I don't know why they think that this is a safe industry. I just don't get it.
If it is National Party policy to run gas wells all over agricultural land in Australia, it is only the policy of the elected members. It is not the policy of the people of the National Party.
Our local member actually stood in the main street of Narrabri and accused me of being nothing but a fly-in protesting. I was very upset by it, and I think a lot of other farmers who were there at the time were too.
The arrogance and the insult to the people on the ground of these people who say they represent us, but it comes where we just have to stand up and say, you're failing.
The government refused to acknowledge the input from a grassroots level right through to professionals and scientists. The government is ignoring the voice of the people.